How's it going? Welcome back to the shed. 3 weeks in on the Bonneville America hybrid bike. I'm loving it. Absolutely fantastic. It is brilliant. Yeah, just loving it. So I'm riding that all the time. That's my bike. I'm back on it. The bike I was riding, which used to be mine, which is now Jen's, is now in the shed and it's on the stand. Because we're going to have a little look at that. Something that became apparent, well, it was apparent when I had it, when it was my bike, and it's been reinforced in the past few months where I've been riding it every day. Kind of reminded me of it, is the annoying early model clutch judder. So, from what I can gather, it's documented on the forums and whatnot, the early model, some of the early model air-cooled Bonnevilles had this clutch judder thing, which kind of happens sporadically, occasionally or frequently. It just depends what day it is. Usually as you're taking off from somewhere, obviously roundabouts I always found were the worst one, or normally when there was a lot of people around in a supermarket car park and it just looks like you don't know what you're doing. As you pull away, you just get this you can kind of compensate with it by giving it a few more revs and stuff, but it's just really annoying. I touched on it, I think many videos back, and I started to have a little look at it and see if I could solve it. I think I mentioned I had previously emailed Triumph to find out if it was a known problem. They said yes, it is a known problem. I wish I'd kept this email. They gave me a list of parts that they suggested I buy to try to change, to see if that would cure it. There was no offer of any discount or goodwill gestures involved in that, even though they kind of said, yeah, we know there's a problem, but if you spend an awful lot of money on these parts, maybe they'll cure it, which I wasn't willing to do. So obviously I've had heavy clutch springs in there. I've had different clutch plates when I had it, and it was pod filters and a different exhaust, so I'd had to have heavier duty clutch springs because it was slipping. We've since changed that back for Jen because she didn't like the heavy clutch. So the other thing we did as well, and I think it was mentioned, I can't exactly remember what Triumph said to change. I think this was one of them, but I'm guessing the lifter arm, and there's a video, and if I can remember I'll link to it, where the later model, I think, lifter arms, clutch lifter arms have a slightly different throw, and just the way they're set up makes it a much lighter clutch. And yeah, to be fair, that was worlds apart. I changed that, the lifter arm, and I think the little, you know, like the little bullet bit, I'll show you when we take the other one apart, that was different. And yeah, that made a world of difference to the actual kind of feel and action of the clutch, but obviously the judder is still there. So over the months I've kept an eye out, and I did many moons ago pick up for a couple of quid this, because it is suggested as well, once you try the lifter arm thing, that later model, the clutch basket bit here, this face is what causes the judder, or there's an issue with this. You can kind of, you might not be able to see it, but you can see the wear on these ones, and they reckon there is an issue with this kind of brass. I think I guess it's brass. Oh, I don't know what it is. Kind of face on here, and that design changed, and fitting a later model one apparently can improve it. I picked this up not knowing. I wasn't able to get an idea from the seller what year it had come off, but it was so cheap it was just worth a go. I have a feeling it's an early model on this one, so it might just be a nice ashtray, but I don't smoke anymore, so that's no good. So paperweight, but just there, I picked up a while back a complete clutch from a late model Bonneville, air-cooled, 5,000 miles on the clock, and it's definitely a late. I think 2016 or 2015 rings a bell, but fuel injected later model. All in, I posted it's about 70 quid, 80 quid, which is pretty good. If you look at all the cost of the parts individually to buy new, that would be way more than that. So for 80 quid, and if it solves it, to me that's 80 quid well spent. I can see already before I've even taken it apart and just comparing it to this, there are differences on the outside, but it's going to be interesting to have a look when we get inside and take the old clutch out and apart, how different they are. And yeah, then we'll put that one in, see if I've just wasted 80 quid and a day of my time, or are we triumphant and we've solved the clutch judder. We'll see. It'll be an interesting little journey. Do join me. Let's rock and roll. Okay, full disclosure, I drained the oil when I got home from work last night, so it's been draining last night and today. So let's get the clutch off. So we're going to start. It's not really going to be a how-to, I'll just go through it, but we'll get some slack on the cable here. Okay, alright, cable down, slacken off evenly all the nuts on, remove the breather hose at the back, that just pops off, and that will just push and slide through. Yeah, and slacken off all of these. Okay, all screws off, clutch cable removed, breather hose off, just take the gear lever off, and then we're ready to pull the cover off. I've already slackened this off ahead of time. Getting a bit stuck on the breather hose there, and then, there we go, clutch cover off. That was the lifter arm and the, oops, where are we? Yeah, the bullet that I was saying about on the other video that changed. So that actually made, it's this sort of part that's slightly different, which makes a world of difference to the action on there. But oh, well, I've got that off. As you remove it, that bit there, bring you down. The fabled wavy washer, don't lose that. Right, let me just put this down. You've got this little wavy washer, which is very important. Can't lose that. Oops, don't forget to put it, focus, don't want to lose that, and don't forget to put it back on when you reassemble. I'm going to take that off, and I usually put a cable tie through it and put that through one of the holes on the clutch cover, so when you come to put the clutch cover on, you physically will be reminded that you've forgotten to put it on if you haven't remembered to do so. Just like that. T27. Slacken those off. Get that one off. That's that one. and then we can get this cog off. That has a this pin that comes out there, and this is the area. I haven't done it. The Triumph Twin Power safe start. I think this is the boss area that can get broken if I don't know, something to do with the Sprag clutch, and that can shatter that. I need to look into that, read up a bit more about it. But yeah, obviously I haven't done that yet. Right, next thing, let's get the clutch basket off. This is going to be a bit more involved. Clutch basket out now. And right. Right, incredibly annoyingly, I didn't actually press record when I just went through this whole next bit, so I'm going to kind of recap, but this isn't for real. I've just had to put everything back on just to show you what happened. So, I started off with the pressure plate here. The springs are normally behind here. Obviously we normally have the clutch plates all in here, and the back pressure plate standoffs coming through here that these screw into. Now this is the thing that people talk about. Let's go over and show you what it looks like properly on the other already assembled clutch. So that's how it will kind of look when it's in your engine. Let's just get the pin out of there. Drop that in there, so that will sit in there. Now when people talk about retorquing this pressure plate down with the clutch springs, it's about making sure that it's done evenly, so this will constantly pull out easily with no sort of friction or resistance. So at the moment that's probably a little bit tight, a bit difficult because it's not all in there properly, but so this is obviously from the breakers been just nipped down just for sending it. But that's the thing, when you reassemble you want to be tightening these down evenly but making sure all the time that this is free to move in and out. Anyway, that aside, so that's what that would look like. So we undid those four, that just lifts off like that. Remove your springs, and then you can remove that bit, etc. But you're left with a big old nut holding this on, which is really tight. Now you can get a clutch tool which goes in and kind of is supposed to sit. Triumph do their own one. The various aftermarket ones, you can make one, something that's going to kind of hold in these sections here on each side, and kind of you can stop that from turning whilst you lean on it, because otherwise the whole thing's just going to rotate. But a bit like a sprocket, taking the sprocket off or something, what I do is just stick the gear lever on, chunk it up into a high gear. Now this is where you can't do this on a spoked bike, but I'm quite fortunate in that I have got a spare mag wheel, and I have just chucked the mag. I've had to take the normal spoke one on. Obviously this will become apparent why you can't do this with a spoked one. So I just sling my sacrificial mag wheel on, big old block of wood up against the spoke. Obviously you've got the chain and everything tightened on. So as you turn that within gear, it's turning the wheel, this locks against it, and then you're just using that being locked against the swing arm. So through the spoke, a block of wood against the swing arm, and as you lean on that with your breaker bar and your socket, none of that will move. Hang on, let me see if I can recreate again. Let me just get the breaker bar back out. So when that's done up really tight. Obviously you can see that moves, so as you turn the nut, the block of wood's just going to hold against it, and when you've got that on, you'll be able to eventually, and I had to have an extra breaker bar, a bit of old scaffold pull on here just to do it. That'll bring that free. You can take the nut and the washer off to remove your entire clutch. And just to point out, there is a, which is no way going to focus, come on, well, it says out on there, so you know which way that this washer is directional, but put them in a safe place. Right, that's really annoying. I do apologise that I didn't manage to film me actually getting that off, but hopefully I've been able to reenact what I did so it's a bit clearer. I just find that the easiest way to get that clutch nut off. I've really struggled in the past with the clutch tools because they've been done up so tight I physically can't get it off without putting the block of wood thing, but obviously you are limited. I'm trying to think of a way off the top of my head you could do it if you've just got a spoked wheel, because obviously not everyone has the luxury of having a mag wheel lying around. Yeah, I'm sure there's a way you could rig something up to lock it. Anyway, here we go. So new style or later model clutch. The one I've just removed, old style 2001. So if we look at them straight off the bat, pretty similar. See slightly different springs in the new one. But there we go. Pressure plate at the top, that's pretty much the same. This gear at the back, that's the new one, that's the old one, that's all pretty much the same obviously. And actually the basket here looks very similar, but straight away the bits that do look interesting is if we take the old in a bit of the basket, compare it to the new one. It's a nice, far more machined surface on the top there. Just looks slightly better made. I mean, obviously that. Oh yeah, we can have a look at these two now and confirm. Yeah, I think they are. I think they're of the same era. They look it, don't they? There's no real difference between these faces, I don't think. Right, measuring that looks slightly. That one looks slightly thinner than that one, but then just that outer edge. But that just could be an optical illusion. But yes, so straight away that it's interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing the back end of that one, the back side of it, just see if there's any difference there. The other thing, just noticed in the bag of the stuff they've sent, there's a slightly, the pin that goes in the middle. See, that one is a lot shorter. And that one looks more like the one that came out of the America. Let's just get this open. Yeah, actually, is that? It's better to see now on there. See what it says, out. So nuts are slightly different as well. See, that one's got, the old one's got this edge on it. That one has not. Interesting, interesting. If you look about the same, I'm sure that's a lot like the one that came. I wonder if this is off a Speedmaster or a. I don't know. There's obviously a larger face on there. Yeah, because on the America, which I think, if memory serves, the pin was similar. There was like a hollow. So it's, and it wouldn't fit on the Bonneville one because it wasn't a hollow spindle. We'll have a little look at that in a moment. Yes, in fact, if you see on the Bonneville, this is the bit. So obviously that pin will not go all the way down into the shaft there because it's obviously too long. Hence the slightly shorter version which goes there. So yeah, that's interesting. Don't know how much of an issue that will be. Obviously the biggest surface area there, but yeah, right, so that's one thing to bear in mind. It's just a moment of discovery for me, just to sort of compare the two. Right, let's get the pressure plate off this and get these out and have a look at the back side of this. Okay then, so it's definitely made out of something different. So this is the new one. Yeah. If we look at the way, material wise, it looks, well, that's something slightly different, but if you also look at this corner where it sits here, that's slightly different. Yeah, so there are some very subtle differences. So, which is kind of one, well, I'm assuming it's going to fit. Can't see why it wouldn't. One can only hope that that is a design improvement, and will maybe go some way to eliminating the clutch judder. There's only one way to find out. Pop it all back together and pop the new one in. Reassemble. Make sure the pins on there line up with the holes there. Right. Just check we got the right clutch housing. The two outermost clutch plates will be slightly different. See that? Slightly different. These are all very, very oily. Obviously, if they were brand new, I say it was off a bike that had done 5,000 miles, so very new, but if they were brand new I'd soak the plates in oil overnight, but I really don't think there's any need to on this one. That's the old rear pressure plate, that's the new one. Okay, let's get this on the bag. Okay then, so although I messed up undoing the clutch nut, it's the same process but in reverse. I shall be incorporating for doing it up. So little washer without on the outside. Don't really know the significance of the shoulder on there because it doesn't really touch anything. Once the springs are on, both the top pressure plates are the same, so I'm just going to put the one with the shoulder back on. Block of wood in place. 105 Newton meters. Okay, so pop the other gears on. Haven't put my wavy washer on yet. I'm going to do the pressure plate here and put the clutch springs in. So just another spring roll away from me. Hang on a sec. Okay, so this is the, they're exactly the same, but this is the pressure plate off this new assembly anyway. I'm just reasoning that our bearings probably had less of a life than the other one, but obviously I've put the pin in from the original because we haven't got a hollow spindle, so the other one won't fit. I'll pop these on, and then as I said before, the idea is these only torque down to I think 9 Newton meters, but we need to make sure that this can move in and out freely without any binding as it's tightened down. Sometimes you'll do it first hit, other times you'll have to slacken them off and evenly tighten them down again, and it can take several attempts, but you've seen me do this on the previous clutch springs video anyway. So they're 9 Newton meters. I was suddenly thinking on this particular one, because that is not going all the way into the shaft, it's always going to be able to move out as long as you get that. As soon as that's down, I can't see how that would bind up on there. I suppose you want it as, yeah, I can see how it would be if you went in crooked with the longer pin on there as it goes into the shaft. Yeah, sure, but there we go. Righto, everything back together. Nice new clutch gasket, a little bit of a wipe down. You'll notice the Hagons on there as well. I've moved them off mine and gone for, I really wanted slightly lower stance on there, so some 320 YSS, and the tech shock started leaking already on these, so I'm just binning them, putting those on. Anyway, more important, has this fix worked? Now, spoiler alert, I already know it does. I've had a little bit of a test ride, but I'll start it up anyway, and often that initial pulling away from the standstill was quite a effective way of reproducing it, so yeah. Okay then, so there we go. Quite happy that I didn't waste my money and my time, and it was a success. So, I was just doing a little bit of slow speed manoeuvring around about the driveway and the road out there, trying to get it to judder, and it wouldn't. So it would appear that whatever it is that has changed in that design has seemed to have improved things. Touch wood for now. So there we go. I hope that might have been of some help to somebody. And yeah, not the greatest easy solution, as in you need to find a late model clutch. I'm guessing, looking at it, the only thing that is different is the actual kind of I suppose the inner basket bit. That's the only thing I can see that is actually different to the old one. So if you can get that on its own, maybe that might be what does it. But there we go. Take it easy. Thanks for watching. See you next time.